Soldering the switches on your pinball machine. You'll need one set of long wires that have 2 male ends, the pointy, and 2 female ends, which are the sockets. The sockets are for your little tiny computer. The 2 pointy pins are the ones that we are going to solder onto your switch. So these 2 pins will solder onto the switch at the short side where this clicker is closest to the switch. These 2 pins are the ones we're going to solder. So to that end, we need to make sure they are nice and clean. So clean your hot soldering iron. Of course, you're wearing your safety glasses. Put a tiny bit of solder on the end of the iron. Then use the iron to make sure there's a nice blob of solder on each of the pins on your switch. Use our grabbers to hold onto your wires, and do the same to both the tips of these pins. Make sure there's a nice little blob of solder on each. Once that is done, then holding the wires, carefully line them up. Now, if you're slow at doing this, the wires may get hot. So, if the wires get hot, you'll need to stop. Otherwise, you'll burn yourself. And that is not a lot of fun. So line them up and just carefully melt them together. That's one switch ready to go. These wires go up through this hole. Done. We're going to do a second one now using a second set of wires. So same process as last time. Clean our soldering iron. Prepare the 2 pins closest to the lever. 1, 2. Use the holding tool to hold these pins. They're easy to get to. Solder both pins. Once the pins are soldered, we then release them from the tool, and oh, this one's going to be a little trickier. Solder them onto this switch. Wires through the hole. Happy, happy machine. Last switch, this one's a little harder to get to, is right in here. Now for this switch, we actually need to solder the 2 pins furthest away from the lever. Because we're using this switch backwards, we solder this pin and this pin. Again, using the little plier tool, you need to prepare both wires. Once the wires are prepared, you'll need to find a way to carefully get them in there around all of the mechanisms. So this is going to be a little more interesting than the other ones. But it's achievable. Job done. This wire's not long enough, we'll need to extend it, but we can do that with a short extension later. So, 1 switch, 2 switch, 3 switch, ready to rumbo.